Good morning. This is Jason Moss of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance and Manufacturing News Network. We're excited today about doing our town hall. This is April the 13th on Monday, and we've got manufacturers and support folks from all around the state that are on the call today. And we're going to talk a little bit about the current status of manufacturing in the state, what's going on, how companies are dealing with some of the challenges that we've got, and our goal is to share some of the best practices as well. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to introduce our speakers, the folks that are on the line with us today. We have Cassie Nettles, and she is with Ad Victoriam. She's one of our great partners and friends in the manufacturing support space. She'll tell a little bit about her company. Jason Lamers with Grenzebach. Jason's been working with us for several years, and got a great facility down in Middle Georgia. And I say Middle Georgia, I guess Noonan kind of counts as Middle Georgia. It's south of Atlanta. So, and then we got Laura Matajewski, and she's going to give us kind of some insights on the financial side of the world. And she's with HLB Gross Collins. Now, with that being said, what I'd like to do is sort of open this up, and Jason, I'm going to put you right on the spot. If you would, tell us a little bit about, tell us who you are, what your role is with the company, what company you work with, and what do you guys do?
All right, I'm Jason Lamers with Grenzebach Corporation. My role is selling contract manufacturing, sheet metal services, so laser cutting, bending, fabrication, machining, and anything to fill up our shop during our times in between manufacturing major pieces of equipment. Mm-hmm. Our primary role is conveying manufacture for glass, solar, and building materials industries.
Okay,
and right we're doing, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and how long have you been with Grenzebach?
Been with Grenzebach since 2016.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And well, tell me what's shaking at the shop. I mean, it looks like are you working out of your office or your home office?
I'm here in my home office. As I said, the first day I was working remotely, I did the full work dress, put on my nice shirt, put on my khaki pants. I even wore my steel-toed boots down here. My wife put a stop to that real quick. Said, but it was just about getting the right mindset for going to work for me. So,
yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think, as we prep for work and try to make this as normal as we can, I think the habits that we get into early, have carry us through, and it does get your mindset right so that you can dig into the work side of the house. I mean, I know it makes a big difference for me. I get up every day and paste on a smile, and now not every Zoom meeting that I've seen, all the participants that got engaged that way. I've seen some pretty interesting spoofs on YouTube and a variety of places like that. So we gotta have fun with it. But I think setting the mindset for what we can do makes a big difference. Now, what's going on at the shop? What's going on at Grenzebach in the facility yourself?
Well, we've sent about 80% of our office staff home. Only critical people like the head of engineering, the rest of the engineering staff is working remotely. The head of project management is in the facility, but the rest of project management is working remotely. All of accounting, HR, and sales are all out of the office. And that was explained from the president down, it was just a matter of minimizing the number of people who have contact with our services. We've actually dropped to a 4-day, 10-hour work week for all production staff.
Okay.
So that they Friday to clean up. Mm-hmm. Through.
Okay. Are y'all doing any different? What strategies have you guys implemented as far as cleanup in the facility? Have you guys done much different? Are you using internal folks to do cleaning, or you got outside service doing that? What does that look like?
We have an outside service come in to do the cleaning. They had been with us before, but now we've actually increased our services with them up to once a week. And every time they're in, they disinfect all high-touch areas, regardless of whether it's in the shop or in the office space. Mm-hmm. We have all of our shop workers that there's a minimum 6 foot of distance between all of them. Now that gets a little bit difficult when you're reviewing a set of drawings together, but
Right. Yeah.
there, as often as possible, we keep everyone as far away from each other as we can. There are hand wash or hand sanitizing stations now throughout the facility, whereas it was just a couple, the restrooms before.
Mm-hmm.
We're encouraging everybody just to practice proper hygiene.
Yep. Well, you guys have got a great facility down there, and I mean, it's pretty well spread out. I mean, you got a nice footprint. Do you remember what y'all's square footage is in y'all's facility? Y'all got a pretty large facility.
120,000 square foot of manufacturing space.
Okay.
That doesn't include any of the.
Yeah, we really enjoyed our tour down there a while back, and it's quite the facility for sure. Well, what are you guys seeing as far as bringing any contract work in? I know you got your core products that you manufacture for Grenzebach. Are you seeing any additional drive or demand for doing more contract work or less contract work right now? What's it looking like for you?
Several of my current customers are in the automotive and tire and rubber space. Those are all down. But everybody who works with pneumatics right now, anyone who can produce a ventilator, those are all looking for manufacturing space.
Okay.
So it's balanced.
Are you guys retooling to help build ventilators themselves, or just making components for it? What does that look like?
Just making components, sheet metal stands, any kind of assembly that we can do, but no, we're not actually retooling to manufacture anything production wise in our facility.
Okay, great. Well, we've got some folks that have volunteered some engineering services that stepped up to the table and said they'd love to be able to participate on any manufacturer that's going through a retooling to be able to help support in that transition. So we've got some guy. I tell you, I'm thrilled to be able to share with you guys some of the successes we've had and how strong the manufacturing community has really stepped up to fill in the gaps. None of us have planned for this, and we're just trying to figure out how to sort it out day by day. So manufacturing continuing to hit your numbers on general product, and then you're seeing just a transition shifting from what you've been manufacturing over. I just found out today that Kia has extended their shutdown for 2 more weeks, and they're officially going to be down through April the 27th. They just announced that this morning, and that has a ripple effect for a lot of manufacturers in the state. It's really interesting to see how deep the automotive impact is through all the supporting tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers as well. So that was interesting to hear. So everybody's trying to do the best that they can, backfilling. I know that a lot of the manufacturers that we've talked to had questions about, are they, essential businesses? The manufacturers, how do they classify? And kind of depends on what you manufacture and what contracts you've got, right? So what in the qualification, how does that keep you guys engaged and being able to come in? What's your on the essential manufacturing side? I know you guys produce a lot of different things, but what is that?
On the essential manufacturing side, because we produce for a solar panel manufacturer, and they're actually considered an energy company by the federal government, they are considered to be a key supplier to the energy world, and we're a key supplier to them. So that and our production, our AGVs that we produce that go to grocery stores and delivery type places has kept us in the essential manufacturing side of things. Okay,
I got you. That's perfect. That sounds good. What's been the most surprising thing that you've learned through this experience so far, Jason? What's the thing that just kind of shocked you as we're going through this? What are the things like, never guessed that that would have happened or it would have worked that way? Anything stand out?
I guess for me, it's just the how quickly things can change, how quickly people can change their own attitudes. I was firmly in the camp of this isn't a scary thing to me when it was still in China. And then by the start of Modex, we were starting to see cases in the United States. And by the end of Modex, I wasn't allowed to come in the office anymore. And I was like, this has turned scary really quick.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the Modex, I think that's the last known trade show in the significant trade show in the U.S. It's going to be interesting to see how that comes back. That's one of the things that we as an association, we're trying to figure out. We went through and we've talked through some of our team trying to figure out what makes sense to do. Our event, you guys has exhibited at it in the past, and we appreciate that support. But we're looking at September the 15th. We don't yet know how we're going to respond to that. We got a drop dead date. I'm looking at my calendar over my shoulder. Sorry. But we got a drop dead date that's coming up pretty quick for us to decide, what we're going to do and how we're going to configure that. So we're going to be reaching out into our community, and actually this is a great opportunity to use the group chat. So everybody, I want you to just kind of scroll your mouse down at the bottom of the window, and there's a little button that says chat. So click on the chat button. I'm asking a simple question. This is a pretty straightforward. As it stands today, if GMA hosts our 2020 Georgia Manufacturing Summit on September the 15th, would you attend? Simple yes or no answer. Just type in, yes, I will attend, or no, I will not attend. And I'm trying to get a little bit of an idea of, what the mindset is. We think September seems like forever far away. When you're putting one of these events together, there's a lot of moving parts that you got to put together. Now we're going to take some polls. We're going to do a ton of different surveys. We've got about half of our exhibitors already committed, so we're trying to figure out what that looks like. Okay, we got a variety of cute comments in there, so please keep them coming. But we're trying to figure out that next step too. So we're trying to make sure that we honor our exhibitors, honor our members, and serve the manufacturers the way that they hope to be served. So again, appreciate all y'all's input on that. So well, Jason, and we're going to probably circle back around and want to see if anybody's got any other questions for Jason as a manufacturer. What other questions do you have? Might want to ask of one of our key manufacturers here in Georgia. Anybody got any questions? If you need to ask a question, either you can type it over in the chat box, or the easiest thing is just unmute your line.
Jason, how does the continuous improvement operate?
Somebody was asking about a continuous improvement. Who was that on the line?
Yeah, that's James. I was wondering how your continuous improvement operates successfully without that interpersonal interaction with the people.
That's a good question. Continuous improvement, our quality manager is actually still in the office as of right now, because he has a lot to do and interacts a lot with our manufacturing staff. But honestly, he sent out a notification recently where everybody had to go redo some training, safety training, and watch some safety videos. But I'm not really involved in that system right now.
Okay. Very cool. I noticed we got a chat over in a question in chat. It says, what's your level of concern for personal safety from the manufacturing floor personnel? What is the level of concern for personal safety from the manufacturing floor personnel? What are these guys seeing? Are they coming into work wearing masks, or changing any of their PPE?
To be honest, I haven't been into the office since Modex, so I haven't seen it firsthand.
Right.
I have spoken to one welder I spoke to him a couple weeks after I had left the office for the first time, and he was mostly concerned about making sure that our doors stay open and and he's able to take care of his bills at the time.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Well, that sounds cool. Um, Let me see. What about, are you aware of any holes in the supply chain feeding you guys at this point? I mean, are y'all not being able to produce final goods based on not being able to get supplies, or are you still been able to work through most of your supply chain as usual?
The majority of our raw material in the structural framework we do is sourced out of the United States. We bring in very little from overseas.
Okay.
So we haven't seen anything in regards to that yet. I honestly haven't heard of any issues with our supply chain in regards to pneumatics or electronics or any of those pieces, but we typically use Festo and SKF and a lot of places that are based out of the U.S. for our supply chain. Or if they're based out of Europe, they have manufacturing in the U.S. for our supply chain. There hasn't been much hiccups with that set.
Okay, perfect. Good deal. All right. And we'll go back through, we'll kind of comb back through these questions on the Zoom chat, and we'll make sure we try to get those answered by email. But Jason, thank you so much for your input and sharing today. And I look forward to chatting with you a little bit more. We got some other stuff coming down the pipe soon that we'll pick your brain on. So thanks again.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
All right. So I'm gonna hop over to Cassie Nettles. And Cassie, if you would share with us, tell us, for those folks that don't know you yet, tell us who you are, what company you work with, and kind of what's your role there.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. So I'm Cassie Nettles. I'm with Ad Victoriam Solutions. We are a software implementation firm. We specialize in integrations, implementations, and data migrations from internal systems. So we are partnered with Salesforce and MuleSoft. So if you're familiar with Salesforce, you know that you can't just purchase the licensing. You have to hire a partner to come in and help get it all set up. So I actually started our manufacturing practice at the company, and our company, we're 5 years old, but we have, at this point in time, we have a pipeline so big, we just hired, I think it was like 23 people in the last year. So it's been moving fast, and our manufacturing practice has exploded over the last year in a good way.
Yeah.
In a really good way. So we looked at our business, looked at our pipeline, and we noticed that we were getting a lot of manufacturing business, and we said, okay, well, let's focus on that and see what we can do. So we joined alliances like GMA. We really started just ingraining ourselves in the industry to learn what manufacturers are doing, what their pain points were, and how we could help them or benefit them by changing internal efficiencies with their software to make improvements. And we've actually grown our manufacturing so much in the last year that it is officially 64% of our pipeline.
Wow. Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Very cool. Well, you've been able to connect with a lot of different businesses of all types. I know you really focus on the manufacturing space, but what are you seeing? What's the vibe for manufacturing? I know that, maybe is now a time that companies are retooling to take advantage of some downtime. I mean, I know a lot of people talk about that, but are you seeing that as turning into reality?
It's been really interesting for us because we weren't sure how this lockdown or shutdown was going to work with our business. We didn't know which way it was going to go. It's been insanely busy.
Nice.
Like, I feel like I haven't slept in 3 weeks because manufacturers, they're not on the floor at the time. So all of the operational people are sitting there looking at what they're doing on a day-to-day, and they're trying to figure out ways to make improvements. So people are just focused on keeping things moving and what can they do to make things better. So we're getting calls left and right. Hey, I've got this problem. I've got an ERP that doesn't connect to my internal CRM. How can we fix that? And it's been nonstop. I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie.
I love it. It's really interesting to see how companies respond. I mean, either you take it, and based on what you produce, it's tricky. You don't have control over how you don't have control over what happens to you, but how you respond to it. It can be, I mean, I see, it's really interesting to see how associations are dealing. And I know, maybe give us a little bit of insight on some of the other associations, affiliations that you work with. What do you see in other groups doing? What could we be doing better, to serve our manufacturers and our members?
So I think so we're half manufacturing. The other side of our business, we service all businesses, but our two main groups are healthcare, HLS, or health and life sciences, and manufacturing. And so in the healthcare space, we actually have a new sales guy on our HLS space, and he came in with a million ideas, and all of them involved getting in touch with clients and getting in touch with healthcare providers. And he started, and then 2 weeks into it, it was like, nope, we can't go and see anyone. So we've had to go in and reevaluate how we communicate with our customers, but it's also given us a bit of time to understand what's happening with some of those alliances. HIMSS, I think, was the big conference that we were supposed to be going to. Mm-hmm. And forgive me, I don't ever work on the healthcare side because I don't understand it. But that was a huge conference that was supposed to happen. And they have an association that's tied to it. So you go to the conference, you're part of the association, and they were one of the first groups to cancel. It was like 60,000 people at this conference. Right. And so, they've been sending out webinars and things like that outside of the conference to our sales team. I think the big thing is just communication. Like, everyone's just trying to stay in touch with everyone else one way or another. Mm-hmm. So emails are getting flooded. I will say the other side of that is it's getting really hard to keep up with all of the, the incoming tasks and the communications, because now you're communicating 3 times as much as you used to. So it's getting to be a little chaotic, I feel like.
Right. I got you. Well, that's good insight. I mean, we're like Jason and I were talking about, the Modex was kind of maybe one of the last big shows here in Atlanta for a while, and it's going to be interesting to see how long lasting this change is going to be in the way that we do business. I'm really intrigued. Now, I'm an events guy. I'm a face-to-face guy. That's what we do. It's just live face-to-face events. Up till about a month and a half ago, we had never even done a webinar, none. I mean, because everything that we do is live events. And so making that shift to 100% virtual has been traumatic for me, because I like, hanging out with folks and stuff. So, but we've made the shift, and it's a different way of communicating for sure. Yeah. But I'm really curious to see, what you think about future events, like we talked about the summit. Okay. Summit September 15th, if we get it all clear by the end of the month in Georgia for folks to start going back to work, I don't expect that, but if we did, what would you see the time frame for you and your team to be engaging in, rescheduling? I mean, I'm talking to some keynote speakers that speak all over the world, and asking them what their reschedule rate is. And right now, I'm not aware of any significant shows that are being rescheduled this year. So they're looking at 2021 before they even open back up. So what are you seeing on that space?
So it's interesting for me because 70% of our company is remote. We have people all over the country. And so we're all used to working from home. It's right. I think most of our employees are getting stir crazy, because that's the only, the only interaction they have outside of Zoom meetings is going to events. So I think if you were to ask half of our people, they would say, I'd go tomorrow, because they're ready to. Where, I travel so much that at this point I'm like, oh, it's been really nice to not have to, get home at 7:00 and spend time with the kids.
Hang out with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we're actually looking, we're hoping sometime around June we can start moving people around again. Most of our businesses have said, or clients have said, We'd like to do on-sites at the end of May, the beginning of June, if we can.
Okay.
But we're, it's all just really up in the air right now.
Yeah. Cool. That's interesting. I mean, and a lot of people use different benchmarks. One of the benchmarks that a friend of mine that runs a pretty significant organization, they use Disney. So Disney is taking reservations starting in June.
Oh, gotcha. See,
I mean,
we're at the Waffle House scale.
yeah, Waffle House or Disney. It could be the same thing depending on what time of the day you show up there. But all right, so that's cool. And so it's again, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go. I did get a note that I saw Atlanta Business Chronicle just rolled out that Sanderson Farms, they're a large poultry producer down in Daughtry County. It's about 40 miles outside of Albany. They had 415 employees. They just sent them home on Friday, all of them full pay for 14 days. They said they didn't have any concerns about, having anybody in the facility that had the coronavirus, but they did it just out of an abundance of safety. So they're, taking that action, again, being that close to Albany, which is kind of the hot seat in Georgia for, for the coronavirus. We're seeing, and I bring that up because, when it was about, again, looking back over my shoulder, sorry. It was about the first week in March. Pretty much everything that we had on the schedule got postponed. Now, nobody officially canceled. They said, we're not going to do tours, but they said, we're going to wait till the storm blows over before we open up our facilities to let anybody else back in. Right. And that's completely understandable, so we're trying to figure out, when are we going to be able to open back up and serve our folks? That's one of the things. What are we going to do as far as our directory? We publish a directory twice a year. And then our summit. Those are our three big things, is how can we best serve our members? So it looked like everybody gave us a good answer, yes or no, on the chat. Now, I do want to kind of I got another question I'll ask here in just a minute, but I got to make sure I get it framed properly. But it's going to be really interesting to see how people continue to respond, how that loosen things up. I heard over the weekend that the governor of Texas, is planning on doing some reopening of their businesses and lightening the stay at home, work from home, or whatever it is, the policies that they've got. They're going to start lightening those at the end of this month. It's going to be interesting to see how many other governors will follow suit. The expectation right now for Georgia is our peak is going to hit about the 24th of this month. So we're not there yet. So we got about 10 days. We're about 10 days out from what they expect the peak to be. So you push that out a couple of months. When can we get back to playing like we used to? Yeah, again, going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. What are some of the best practices that you've seen, especially manufacturers? What are you seeing that's a takeaway that you could share with some of the other folks in the crew? What any ideas or concepts or?
So the biggest thing I think we're noticing is that our manufacturers are being really careful on spend, which is incredibly important.
Sure.
Since we don't know how the economy is going to go at this point. Mm-hmm. They're being very careful on spend. And I think my biggest piece of advice would be, if you're working with vendors or you're working with consultants of any shape or form, don't be afraid to at least ask them questions, like put information out there. Just because you're not in a place to spend money right now doesn't mean that you can't talk to your consultants or your vendors or partners, because they're there to support you, and so that's kind of the approach we're taking right now is, hey, you're doing the right thing. You're spending time with your internal teams. You're trying to figure out how to make efficiencies. You're trying to, put a plan together. Let us help you build a roadmap so that when you are ready, we're there to support you 100%. And we don't have to spend a lot of time, going back over things that you've already thought about 6 months later when you've forgotten about them. So let us help you build a roadmap, figure out a plan. Just don't be afraid to reach out to people even if the budget's not there.
That's great advice, Cassie. I really appreciate you sharing that, because we do have to look at it from, I mean, cash flow is king. If you're in business, I mean, you know that's the driver in a lot of the decision we make. And you know, I will pitch it out, some of the things that we're learning and we're encouraging folks. We've had some really good friends from Taylor English and Duma be online with us and share with us about the legal aspects. We've got a big legal call coming up on Wednesday, and but their suggestion is, let's avoid, you know, bringing any kind of legal suits to the table if you can. Just do the right thing and have open communication with your folks, your vendors and your suppliers and your customers. You know, just talk this thing through, because we're all in this thing together. So the more that we can communicate, the better, the more clear we can get with, you know, tough conversations, the better it is for everybody. And, you know, and if you expect your vendors, I mean, if you expect your customers to pay you, you know, I believe that you need to be in full, you know, keep in mind that you need to be paying your vendors, right? I mean, that's, you know, I believe karma will show up in very interesting ways in this business, right? But if you commit, if we all take the time to just commit to do the right thing on the front end, that'll avoid a lot of headaches going down the road. So, okay, so beautiful. Thank you again so much for sharing that. Okay, so our next question for the call is, as GMA, our goal is to help support and grow manufacturers in the state of Georgia. That is why we're on the planet. Now, our mission has not changed. Our vehicle, our tools that we're using has, right? So we're good with that. But what we need to know is, I need to know from each one of you, how can GMA, how can we better serve you? What needs do you have that are not being met right now? And how can we better serve the manufacturing community and our members? So if you would just take just a minute to think about that, kind of chew on that for a minute. You know, what's something that we could do that you feel that we're capable of, or maybe we would, you know, need to bring in some outside resources or bring in outside speakers. I mean, I've got some great, you know, I got some trainers that I have access to. I've got a variety of different tools that are out there. Are there any specific topics that we have not yet covered that we could bring to the table for you in the manufacturing space? How can we better serve you? Right. That's my goal, is try to figure out what can we do to answer and fix some of the challenges that you guys are running into. If you've got manufacturing customers, maybe you're not a manufacturer, but you got manufacturing customers. What are they asking about? What are the challenges that they're running into that we need to address? You know, I know we got some supply chain folks on the line. We got, you know, manufacturing service companies, consultants, but share with us, share that with us. Give you guys just a minute. I can't think and type at the same time. My brain does not jive that way. So I'll play some beautiful background music for just a moment. Well, maybe not. Okay, so as you chew through that, we'll want you to add those in the notes. Feel free to, if you need to send them privately. Oh, yeah. McField, if you want to hit the unmute button there.
Hi. I mean, the thought was mine. I'm with the
Your audio is breaking up really bad. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. That listening or no?
It's not great.
Okay. I'll type.
Okay. Yeah, if you would, yeah, because your audio is not gonna be able to pull that. Okay. And Zoom, I think everybody on the planet is on Zoom right now. So, all right. So if you would just again share those notes in there. I do want to bring Miss Laura Matajewski on the line with us. Again, Laura's been a great friend, partner with us. She's our chapter director for Cobb County, and she's done a fantastic job of giving us some insights and some tools to work with. I know that you know, HLB Gross Collins is again, great partner with us. Tell us, Laura, over the weekend, what's some of the new stuff that we need to be, please feel free to introduce yourself and your company for those that don't know you and your role there.
Oh, certainly. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I'm a partner at HLB Gross Collins. I lead the manufacturing, distribution, and supply chain practice, and very fortunate to be long-term Cobb chapter director for GMA. So it's good seeing everybody this morning. Sorry, I'm not on video. A few technical difficulties and wasn't quite ready yet this morning for my Picture Perfect Academy show. So. Yeah, so really over the weekend, what we've seen is just some more clarification for all of the different filings that were to be done by this Wednesday originally. Just we've been waiting on a lot of answers. What happens is the government kind of disseminates things, and then we've got to wait for the IRS and what we call the accounting gods to kind of help give us some additional clarification. So we're still addressing questions for our clients that have filed under the PPP. I think we're probably all sick of those 3 letters at this point. But there was some additional transparency shared this weekend since last time I spoke on it, where there was a concern that payroll companies some of them were automatically deferring the payroll taxes that you're allowed to defer under the CARES Act, the FICA side of things. And if you had applied for the PPP, there's a concept where you can't really double dip on that. Well, we got some additional language over the weekend that it is okay for you to go ahead and defer those payroll taxes once you get the answer that you do have you have been approved for your PPP application. That's effectively when the SBA has given you a loan number and you've gotten your correspondence back to say, yep, all good to go. And then within about 10 business days or less, they're supposed to be getting the funds to you. So up till that point, you could go ahead and defer those payroll taxes under the CARES Act. And then there's some tranches coming up down the line that you will have the opportunity to repay those. So, I think it's really just going to be a matter of time to see how quickly. I think the SBA has a huge backlog right now of actually just assigning loan numbers. So there are still quite a few companies and clients that I work with that have not received their yes on their application. So it's not surprising there. Hopefully we'll get a lot more of them processed through this week and get some more answers there. And then there was one of the big banks out there actually that they have lifted some of that asset cap out there. So, which is good for them. I think everybody's been very frustrated and it's hard not to bring to the head, as I think you mentioned earlier, Jason, thoughts and concerns where you were just ready to kind of jump the gun and go, all right, forget this. I'm ready to move on from a relationship. So not that I can sway you one way or another, but just know and try to be as patient as you can be. But certainly if you're not getting answers, that's what GMA is here for. That's what I'm here for. That's what all the professionals are here for. And again, I'm super excited to hear what's going on this afternoon. But essentially, yeah, we got some additional clarification over the weekend. But the biggest factor I think that everybody needs to focus on now is what is that new quote unquote financial game plan look like? How are you going to be bringing your business back up? Kind of laying that piecework out, because we don't know if this will kind of clear itself for a little while and then we'll have to go back into some of this craziness again later this year until I think, we can get more answers on this virus. It's going to be a lot of shorter term planning, but it does need to happen so that you can have an idea and that you can be proactively communicating with your bankers, with your employees, with your teams, so that they can start to feel like there's a direction. It's hard to say which direction, hopefully a positive direction, of course. But whenever that direction starts to reveal itself, we can all make a determination and have something that we've kind of started to implement, so to speak. So that's the biggest part of what I'm doing right now, is helping businesses, all the ones that can file tax returns. We do encourage you to get that thing done. Just go ahead and get it knocked out, especially if you're going to get a refund, which a lot of them may potentially be. And because nobody wants to have a crazy, ugly summer at July 15th. I know I would like to not, but you can only do what you can.
Right. Well, I definitely appreciate that update, Laura. I tell you, and I've been super transparent with you guys. If you've been on any of the previous calls, I've been trying to share my journey, kind of going through this process as a business owner. I was on a conference call with the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, and they had one of the guys that was in charge of the funding through SBA, and he said, we recommend everybody get online, go to SBA right now, file for the emergency $10,000 loan. It will be forgiven. They didn't call it a grant, but basically they said if you got a business, go to SBA, do the EIDL, check the box for the $10,000 advance on the emergency advance, and then they'll get back with you, and then file PPP as quick as you can. And as soon as you get the paperwork together, that was on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they said that the PPP applications would be available on Friday. My experience has been I did that first EIDL advanced emergency deal. I got the confirmation from the SBA, excuse me. They said, yep, we got your application, have not heard a word since. They said that those $10,000 funds would be available within 72 hours. That's what they said on the conference call. This is what they said on the news. Everybody said, fill it out. You get it within 72 hours for 10 grand. That still has not appeared anywhere on my planet. And I don't know of anybody that has received that. Maybe you guys, somebody raise your hand if you did, but I hadn't heard anybody do that. So apparently there was a little bit of hiccup in that program, which is okay. I mean, I'm trying to give as much grace as I would hope somebody would give me, because this is so new for everybody. We gotta roll with it, roll with the punches. I went ahead and filled out the PPP program, filled that all out on, they said it would be available on Friday. Well, at 6:30 on Friday, I got an email from my bank. I bank with Synovus. Love those guys. Had a long-term relationship with them. Bank of North Georgia was the number 2 member of GMA 12 and a half years ago. So we got a relationship now. That's one of the things I learned a long time ago. Get a great accounting company, a great legal team, and a good banker. Those are 3 things all of us need in business. And I'm thankful for the banking relationships that we've had. But I filled my stuff out on Friday. They went through like 5 or 6 different iterations. I thought I had everything done on Friday, and on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, I got an email that said, you need these 3 things. And I put those 3 things in. About noon on Saturday, they said, you need to change this, and I changed that. And then on Sunday, they said, there's one more change, and I made a change on Sunday. And then Monday morning, they said, you miscalculated something, fix this one thing. And I'm like, okay, I'll fix that one thing on Monday. I fixed it. They said they were running it through underwriting, doing all the right stuff. On Friday, I got the call. On Thursday, actually, the bank called and said, hey, looks like everything's in underwriting. Everything's good to go. Should do something. Friday at about 4 o'clock, my banker called and said, hey, looks like everything got approved. I was like, well, what's next? And by 7 o'clock Friday night, the money was in my bank account. So just so you know, I know a lot of folks are frustrated and they're going through some headaches, and it's crazy times, but that process does work. You got to fill out all the stuff. Sometimes there's some push, they can't submit the paperwork to the SBA unless it is 100% right. And once it gets right and your banker goes through that process, then, for Synovus, and I can't speak for any other bank or any other relationship, I'm just thrilled beyond measure that, that they were able to turn it as quickly as they had. There's a lot of people that it took to put this piece of, put all these pieces in place, and it is not perfect by any stretch, but I'm really proud to see kind of how the pieces fit together and all the people that it took to make it happen. And we do need to, again, I think we need to give as much patience and grace as we can for anybody that's dealing with this, because I'm not saying that the rules change, but we do get more clarification. Laura, I think you probably agree with me on that.
Yes.
We get different clarification pretty regularly on how this thing unfolds. So, but I do want to share with you kind of what my journey has been. So again, real thrilled with that piece. And like Laura said, you need to be planning on what your ramp back up plan is for your business. What does it look like for you guys to come back in and get the wheels rolling again? Once we get the all clear, so. All right. So with that, what I want to do is open up the floor for anybody's got any other questions that did not get addressed on the call so far. Who's got the first question?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
First off, apologies for joining in late. We had to basically deal with our first case at tie down. Question is just kind of for the floor, and I apologize, but didn't quite hear everything for this whole meeting. But has anyone heard about the CDC guideline for if you've come in contact with someone, and that if you're within that 6 feet, there's actually now a time provision involved there. So it actually says if you've been around that person or closer for like a 15-minute time period. That's kind of the first thing that I've ever heard of before. I just didn't know if anyone's heard of some of these guidelines, because right now, obviously the concern that we have is, well, how do we potentially limit like who may have had exposure?
Right.
I mean, this is someone that actually travels and goes around the company a good bit, and we've been enforcing 6 feet, but I can see people, that person came very close to my area. Well, was that just walking through, or was it actually for an extended amount of time? Just didn't know if anyone heard anything along those lines.
Well, now they're saying it's 13 feet, and the coronavirus also sticks to the bottom of shoes for an undetermined amount of time. So it's getting more complicated.
Wow, I hadn't heard that one yet, James. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I did hear the 13 feet recently too. But right now, in terms of what we're quoting and stating is, per CDC guidelines. That's kind of the de facto authority, authoritative body in this whole process. So that's basically what we're right now stating. Just didn't know if anyone heard anything more beyond that, or someone that's already experienced this within their operation and how they're mitigating it.
Hey, Sloan, just wanted to let you know that so Georgia Tech reached out to me to let us know that they've got a program going on with some of their team. And at the same time, Daniel Defense asked a very similar question to what you just asked. So I paired them up. I'll find out as soon as we wrap this call up, kind of find out what the results have been on that. But Daniel Defense was, they didn't have an active case in their facility, but they wanted to be prepared in the event that they did. So I'll get that information. I'll make sure that I share it. Anything that I can share in the documents. Koki is going to be doing our thanks again, Koki. I appreciate all your support there. But she's doing all these event recaps, and we'll include that in the show notes and in the recaps on anything that we can share on the documentation side. So that's one of the things we're working on. And also, Russ, if you can kind of give us a little bit of insight on what's going on, if you're aware of anything in that space as well.
I'm afraid not. It's not.
I know that's not really in your wheelhouse, but I know some of your guys had chatted about that yet.
So what our company does, right, if somebody comes into contact or near contact, they'll go ahead and send that person to get tested. And then the person that also was near in contact will also be tested. They'll also clear down that work cell, and they'll decontaminate that work cell. And then those two persons, they don't name names. They just say these two persons are two persons in this work area where we determined they may have COVID. And so they send those people home, then they disinfect the areas, and then later on, they'll open those areas back up. So that's how we're handling that.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, James. I definitely appreciate that. All right. Anybody else got any other input or insights on that? All right, Tom Valentine, if you would share with us a little bit. I know you're working on the supply chain side, working with a lot of the folks that are hauling freight in and out. What are you seeing out there? What's your any direct guidance for how you're working with how the folks in the supply chain are dealing through that? We can't hear you yet. Nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you
Gotcha
go.
now.
How's that?
Yep. Gotcha.
You hear me now?
Yep. We're good.
Yeah,
What do
now
you-
I can't hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. What are you seeing on the supply chain side? What's shaking as far as working with folks in the trucking industry?
Sorry, Jason, I've lost your audio, so I couldn't understand what it was you were saying there.
I said, what are you seeing in the trucking industry as far as contaminate? Okay. Well, we'll have to circle back around to Tom on another time. All right, cool. All right. Well, with that, what I want to do is open up the call, see if anybody else has any final questions, any thoughts they'd like to share real quick.
I have one question. Does anybody know about the government payouts, the $1,200 per person and $600 per child, if that's when that's gonna be paid out? I have a lot of employees that are asking. I don't know the details. Does anybody have any feedback on that? People are always interested in payroll as the holy grail. So
Yeah.
trying to provide some comfort there.
Laura, you got any insights on that, Laura? Rob, I'm sorry to say we got crickets on that, man. I don't know that anybody, I mean,
Jason, I'll just say the last that I read on that is supposed to be this Thursday. So that's I don't know the exact date on that. Let's see, 16th.
16th, okay.
And this is Henry Quillian. I can only say they interviewed Vice President Pence on that exact issue this morning, and for whatever it's worth, he said this week.
Okay.
And that's all I know.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Hope that helped, Rob.
Yep, did. Yep. Right. Always helps.
All right. Perfect.
Jason, I'm good now.
All right. I got you. Okay, cool. All right. So what are you seeing in the supply chain side, man? What's it looking like on you guys as far as any kind of guidance on contamination, cleanliness, that sort of thing? What's going on? How are folks dealing with the trucking industry?
Well, a lot of that hasn't changed. I mean, they put those procedures and policies in place very quickly to protect a lot of the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I know some of you probably weren't on the initial call here a couple of weeks ago, but as we talked about patience. There's a lot of dynamics going on right now. Freight is still moving. As of last week, there were only 6 states that were not under a stay-at-home governor order, but freight is still moving within the network and within the supply chain and distribution side of things. Mm-hmm. It has condensed and it has slowed down some, definitely, with a lot of the closures. But we do have customers that have, augmented some of their and made personnel available to receive and ship freight at very specific hours during the day. Okay. So a lot of our 3PLs that we work with, they're spending a lot of time managing those windows of opportunity to get freight in and out. As far as a protection standpoint, as I had reiterated a couple of weeks ago, they immediately put in, the drivers, most drivers are not getting signatures for their delivery receipts. Is typically by law, once freight is delivered in some capacity, just like if UPS or somebody shows up and they ask to sign your pad, they're not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. That opens up a whole nother realm, I guess, because typically if there's a signed, free, and clear delivery receipt, if there's damage, we just had one this past week with one of our customers where there was actually, the product was actually damaged. Mm-hmm. But because of that policy in place, we have to go back and forth on that communication side. Yeah. There's a give and take, because from a legal standpoint, it automatically typically indemnifies the carrier from any responsibility of damage. And then that decreases the amount that they're quote unquote able to pay on a claim that may be validated. Right. So there's a lot of give and take right now in that protection process of the drivers. So we're just seeing that there's a lot more communication needs to happen. It's not as cut and dry as what it was in the past. Yeah. Again, the drivers are typically not going into the facilities. They're typically staying put, having that product either unloaded or offloaded. Paperwork is pretty much all electronic. There's not a lot of interaction in between the consignees or the shippers. Mm-hmm. so they're getting by. It's still challenging out there, but for those of you that are manufacturers on the call here today, please be patient and please be courteous and kind, especially those drivers that are out there still, because they are facing it. There has been some spread of infection, but the companies have done a really good job on the protection side in putting in those policies and procedures weeks ago to help prevent a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
You said something really nice. You said to be courteous and kind. I can't tell you how important that is. We receive a shipment from Germany every week, and because of the flights having been grounded, many of them being grounded, our freight forwarder, Kuehne+Nagel, just was going crazy, and it took us a long time to get our freight over here. I just wrote a really nice letter to the Southeast Vice President here and just commended him, and it was really nice. Called him, said, "You guys have been doing an excellent job. I really appreciate you." And he actually put somebody, especially for us, on task to keep us updated. Yeah. So a little bit of kindness goes a long way. And our truckers, when they come, we always provide them with extra little gifts and little something that they can take along just for that thankfulness of providing. A little bit of energy like that, a little bit of extra really goes a long way, and they'll remember you.
That's a great point, Rob. And one of the things I did recently, and I'd share it with you guys and challenge you for it, but our postal folks out there picking stuff up and taking it every day. You can do this at the house. I actually took a thank you card, just said thanks for all the hard work, and paper clipped a 20 to it, and left it in there without an envelope and just stuck it in the box. And I can see my mailbox from my window here at the office, and the guy just almost lost his mind. He was laughing. He was like, "Man, you ain't gonna believe it." It was, he was so excited about that 20. And just find ways that we can give back and just love on folks a little bit, because it's tough out there for everybody. And a lot of those folks that are, on the front lines that we might not think of as much, they're bringing it for us, and we just got to make sure that we honor those and appreciate those folks. And like you said, Rob, be kind. And Tom, that's a big thing that we can all do. It doesn't cost anything to do that. Let's just figure out how we can, and we're going to pull through this, guys. We are going to pull through this. It's going to be a different new normal that we'll have. But with that, guys, we are just a little bit beyond the 11 o'clock hour, but I did want to thank each and every one of you guys. We're going to post a photo of this call and the show notes on this call as well on LinkedIn. I'd encourage you to share what your favorite part about the call was, and I'm really excited to see what the Zoom notes are about how we can continue to serve you. Thank you again for your time. Hopefully this call has been valuable to you, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next call. You guys have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.